Broadcasting from the Keep Moving Forward Creator Studio, it's time for the Keep Moving Forward podcast. Join us every week as we dive into the stories of remarkable current and former athletes that have transitioned into the real world. Now here's your host, Katy Galli.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 151st episode of the Keep Moving Forward podcast. I'm your host, Katy Galli. Today in the Keep Moving Forward Creator Studio, I have with me author, global C-suite executive, top female executive in technology, mentor, speaker, triathlete, and coach, Rhonda Vetere. How are you doing, Rhonda?
I am great, Katy. How are you doing?
I am doing awesome. I'm so glad that we can connect. I'm so excited to have you on this episode of my podcast.
I am too. It seems like yesterday we were in Atlanta together as well a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that was awesome. I loved getting the chance to meet you at our the Women in Technology event. That was so great.
It was so much fun. I'm glad we were able to do this today. So thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so grateful to have you. And so, Rhonda, just to kick us off, I wonder, where did you grow up and how, if at all, was your childhood shaped by athletics?
I grew up in Northern Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C., and my family is still there. And my childhood, that's a great question, was shaped by athletics early on. I was a swimmer at heart, always in the swimming pool. So I was shaped early on into a swimmer. And then over the years, I stopped swimming. I got burnout. And now I'm back into athletics a couple years ago, I would say 5 years, and I'm doing triathlons. So early on, I was a big competitor.
Yeah. And so when you did experience that burnout from swimming, was that around middle school, high school age, or was it a little later in life?
It was actually right before middle school.
Okay.
I was burnt out. I didn't want to, it's so ironic. I didn't want to get up early in the mornings, Katy, and here I am working these crazy hours.
Yeah.
Getting up at every hour. So fast forward, I probably, I could have stayed with it, but back then when you're a child, you don't want to get up that early. You want sleep.
Yeah, no, I could definitely understand that. And it is funny, though, the shift that you've taken, because now that's what you do. You get up early and you grind all day, and that's just doing what it takes. But then at that young age, it's harder to develop that mindset. And so especially getting burnout on a sport so early, because you have to get up and put in all that effort for that one particular task. But then, too, using that swimming, though, now later in life, getting involved with triathlons. And so how did you find yourself on that path? When did you compete in your first triathlon?
I competed in my first triathlon about 4 to 5 years ago, and it was a small distance. And what was interesting is I was running. I was running for years on end for, active meditation, I call it, running around while I was traveling on treadmills. But I got back into, doing the swimming because of the triathlon. So I had to get back in the pool and force myself. And immediately when I dove back in and started swimming, I knew I was back home. And home in the pool meaning. And since then, I've been doing triathlons, and they've accelerated to doing 70.3 Ironmans and doing intense races around the world. And I just did an Ironman in Bahrain a couple weeks ago in December, actually.
Wow. Man, and so from there, getting involved in triathlons and then making that jump to doing Ironman 70.3 and then these incredible long and just grueling races, how did you make that jump? What made you decide that this was a new goal that you wanted to go after?
I really found, Katy, traveling and the intensity of just all the work, I needed an outlet to do. Everything in my athletics was active meditation, how I quite frankly, when I run, I escape from everything because I don't run with technology. Mm-hmm. So I found that I also wanted to make things different. I was getting in a rut just running. So I knew I needed to do something else to be more well-rounded. And I pushed myself getting back into the pool, and I enjoy it. I get up early in the morning, like you, Katy. I work out. I don't do CrossFit, so I'm a big cardio, swimming, biking, running.
Yeah.
But weights are not my strong suit, I will tell you that. But I just love how you feel, and I make decisions clearer when I'm active and when I'm doing these races.
Yeah. And I mean, I love that. That makes a lot of sense. And using that as a release. So not running with technology, not exercising with it around you so that you're truly able to disconnect and finding that peace of mind doing that. And so with being so active now, being involved so heavily with Ironmans and triathlons, but you're saying you found that mental release from just the day to day and the grind that you're doing with this incredible career path that you're on too. So how did you ultimately end up doing what you're doing today? So from just getting involved in technology, becoming an author, an executive, how did all of these different career paths come about and come to a head to what you're doing today?
Good question. I deliberately moved into companies precisely change agent leadership through technology to I like to fix things. So the intensity of getting things organized chaos,
Yeah.
I thrive upon. So I have deliberately moved to companies throughout my career in telecom and all through technology to financial, to finance, to retail, all through my career leading technology because the change agent, I like to be innovative, moving fast, probably the cadence of the races too. I'm on a cadence of always thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into, I wrote my second book coming out March 5th, actually called Grit and Grind, because you have to grind it out daily. And I want to give back and tell people all the stories on what it takes to get there and actually show them what it's like with real life experiences with the career, grinding it out daily, but also taking the time, Katy, to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Because you cannot manage a team if you're not taking care of yourself as a leader. So I believe in the fitness aspect, and I also believe in the release. And it's been a balance because I am in technology. Not running with my phone is a dichotomy because I'm disconnected.
Yeah.
But that actually makes me heal, and I strategize. I think I make better decisions when I'm active, and I'm actually problem solving the whole race or running time. My mind isn't just shut off.
Yeah. And it's such a unique way to do that too. Finding it's giving you that release, and it's so important to take care of yourself and getting physically fit, staying physically active, but also your mind is able to continue to work in ways that maybe you didn't anticipate or ways that you couldn't, having a screen in front of you all the time. So actually giving yourself that space allows you to think in ways that you actually need to, but you might not have been able to had you not put yourself in that situation.
Exactly. And I believe in being the true corporate athlete in the boardroom, out of the boardroom, and the cadence and giving yourself time to think. We don't do that enough. We don't look up off our phones. And the release for me mentally is the training time. It is the races. And people say, you're crazy. That's intense, these races. I said, well, it's my escape. Everyone has their own escape, what works for them. And thank goodness I figured out that that's the combination to work, to mentor, to help people, and do these races. It's a balance. It's like a four-legged stool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to find that balance, but pursuing all the different things that you love, but realizing that at times you need to take that step back. And so I love too what you said. It's what you get involved with, what you love to do is fixing things and kind of organizing chaos, finding that organized chaos. So where did that love and that passion come from? And how did you figure out that having that drive, having that unique sense, that unique ability to do that and thrive off of that and help in the organizing phase? How did you decide or discover that you could help companies in that area?
Good question. One of my mentors early on, I was in my 20s, he kept moving me every 2 years within a company, and I was getting very, very frustrated and he would plop me into situations that were a mess. And I went to him one day and I said, why do you keep doing this to me? He goes, Rhonda, you're great at organizational leadership, business acumen, and you're a leader and you like to fix things and you like change management. So I realized why he was moving me internally. Now I move companies to do that. I like to have a goal, fix things, leave a legacy, stability, put people in the right positions, give people the right opportunities. So I learned that through one of my mentors, doing it actually putting me in those situations, picking me out, plucking me in, saying, you're going to manage this division that's a mess. Turn it around.
Wow. That's really, I mean, I love that having someone, because at an early age, it's hard to tell, the things that you're good at, the things that you're bad at, are really why you are in a certain season of your life. So having a mentor, having a community around you to help guide you in the direction. So even though you didn't understand that it was a career path at that time, it was something that a mentor of yours did. And so he was intentionally placing you in those situations to help guide you in that direction. And I think that's so needed, surrounding yourself at any age, really, with people who have that experience and know different things, just have the ability to look at things in a different way, in a different light than you do, so that they can help guide you down new paths that you might not have ever seen.
Right. I was, blessed early on in my 20s into my 30s, and then I realized, okay, I got it. Now I understand big companies go in, mergers, acquisitions. I've done 23 mergers and acquisitions, and I like to integrate change, and that's why I'm so passionate, Katie, about everyone finding a mentor in life.
Yeah, that I think that's so key too. Having a person, in all walks of life, having that guiding light, a person who can really have that shared experience, and like you're saying, leaving that legacy behind. But it could be for one person at a time. Just how are you going to instill that in someone? So being a mentor, having a mentor yourself, so you can be poured into and also pour back into others.
Right, exactly. It's so important in all facets of your life.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yep. And so from that time where you started off in that job, and you had that mentor guiding you and putting you in roles where you had to go in and just organize and help develop this change management and organize different fields, then it brought you to do now, where you get to help companies on a large scale do that. So how did you at that young age bridge that gap, and how did you make that jump, and what was that initial step in stepping out of that one company and going off and helping multiple?
The main step was getting out of the telecom field, doing a bunch of mergers and acquisitions, and being moved around all the different entities and companies. And then I actually had a person call me and say, you should get out of telecom and try finance. And then I did the Bank One JP Morgan Chase merger, and I stayed there for a while and built that integrated that company and built that out globally. So I realized, oh my goodness, this is what's happening on large scales, big companies. After that, moved to another large company, did the same thing. So I purposely enjoy, I know it sounds crazy, the change management, finding the right talent, turning organizations around that need help.
Yeah.
That need help.
Yeah. And I mean, starting with that background, having that opportunity to work on a smaller scale in that same arena, and then being able to just blow it up and look at large companies on a larger scale, and have that opportunity then to really make and affect change.
Right. And mentoring folks and living around the world, I think, is important too. So
oh yeah,
that's where I got the global experience and continue to. I think that mindset of getting outside of your comfort zone and being mobile and affecting change, to me, is not just change vertically, but it's horizontally around the world.
That's a great point. And so this love of traveling and this global piece of what you do, was that something that you always loved to do, traveling and getting out of your home and just moving around, or did that develop over time as you started to develop this mindset for becoming a global C-suite executive?
I think it was always in me. My family's from Italy. I'm the second generation, and I always loved to travel on vacations.
Mm-hmm.
But the cultural aspect was learned that I like that through my job. And I enjoyed interacting with different cultures, what makes people tick differently in different parts of the world. How you operate in Korea is totally different than how you would operate in, I would say, Hong Kong or Singapore, even in the Asia culture. And I like learning those dynamics, how change evolves, what makes people tick. So I learned that through my job, the travel aspect. It wasn't, oh, I just love to travel, because I was on the road 237 days overseas, Katie, for years on end.
Wow.
Years. So my outlet was my athletics to stay healthy, right? Keep my mind in the game, the outlet. the more I travel, the more intense my training gets.
Mm.
So I would say I didn't grow up going, oh, I just want to travel the world. Sure, I wanted to see it like we all do, but it was instilled in me because of work and learning the cultures.
Yeah. I love what you said too, the more intense that traveling got. And it wasn't you, it started, you had a passion for traveling and having that appreciation, having gone on vacations to different places, but knowing now what it looked like and having that passion to go after it on a professional level. And so traveling all those days a year, but knowing that it was worth it because you were pursuing that. And then also I like the increase of, you said that your training would increase, what you were doing would become that much more challenging based upon how much you were traveling or the project that you were working on. And so I wonder, I mean, you said when you were younger, you were a swimmer, and athletics was kind of a part of your life. But why did you choose then, as you really got into this professional world, athletics as your outlet rather than any other kind of outlet?
I would say sports because I mean, I love football. I just love my dream job is to be the first female coach of a football team. I'm always into sports.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Have been. So, I have been and always, I just enjoy sports, athletics. Even though swimming I quit early on, I was still doing other sports, but not at that competitive of a level. It's always been a healthy outlet. And I chose that probably because of my upbringing, the discipline there. And doing sports, folks that are in sports usually are disciplined, unless, obviously in the military, people are disciplined as well.
Right.
But I didn't choose an outlet to go out and party, or I'm not that type of an executive.
Right.
I like discipline and order to chaos and pushing myself and being healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like you're saying, it aligns with the mission that you're on, but that mentality that you already have built in, that discipline, that work ethic, and being an athlete just aligns with that. And so saying, being that true corporate athlete, so embodying that vision, that mission that you're putting out there.
I think it's really important too, because and you just mentioned that, and just to the global aspect, the giving back, the mental wellness. I just did this run through the Serengeti, Africa, for 55 miles. Wow. One of the first females to do this run. Well, it's never happened, so we made history doing this. And I'll do it again this year. And people are already asking me, my friends, why are you going 55 miles with armed guards through the Serengeti in Tanzania? That's intense. Well, I'm doing it to give back, to mentor, show folks what it takes, grinding it out, being healthy, the wellness, all aspects of what you talked about, Katy. That's what makes me tick. I found that balance. And some folks might think it's crazy, these races and what doing, but I think it's important that everyone asks themselves what makes them tick, how can they be more healthy, what do they want to do? Are they leading by example? And hopefully I'll, hope to inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. It's just whatever aligns with you, what aligns with your mission, what speaks to you, what resonates with you. And that's what you're going to go after. That's what you're going to put your heart in. And so it makes sense that you would go after and do these more intensive races or things that might seem a little ludicrous to someone on the outside looking in. But to you, it makes total sense because that is the mission that you're on. And it just aligns with what you are already doing in that discipline and that work ethic. And it just puts out there what you're embodying, what you're trying to mentor and guide others into.
Right. And I'm doing it. I'm just not,
right, exactly.
I'm a person I'm not just saying something. I'm doing it. I want people to realize what they do is hard. It's hard work. It's not easy. It's just not, you don't wake up and it's like this. You have to grind it out daily. And the new book coming out, Grit and Grind, literally gives you these life examples on what it takes and why. And I want people to learn that anything is possible if you have the right mindset.
I love that. That's a great point. And so Grit and Grind coming out, and is this the second book that you've written?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So what prompted you to write both your first book and Grit and Grind? And what do each of them tell? What pieces of advice do they offer? Who are they written for?
The first one was the Yellow and Black. Remember those dummies books that are still out? It was all about technology, enterprise service management. So that was about technology, the space I'm in, all about that topic. Still out there. The second book, which is coming out grit and grind is what embodied me to do it was, okay, my mentor today looked at me and I kept getting all these questions from, quite frankly, men saying, you should get your story out. I want to hear your story, and you've done so much, and I want my kids to learn. And I'm like, well, it's not just about my children. This book is for anyone, literally. So my mentor said to me, you need to do this. I'm like, I'm so busy. He goes, well, that's why you need to do it, because it's your time for people to learn, to bridge the generations. And it's your time to actually tell your story. And it's not targeted towards one age group, Katy. Anyone can learn from it.
Wow. So, and I love that it transcends generations, and it transcends different, whatever career path or whatever season of life you find yourself in, then it can be applied to no matter where you're at. It's meeting you where you're at.
Right.
That's
exactly.
Awesome. Yeah.
Exactly. I can't wait for your feedback.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it and give you my feedback. I'm super excited to let you know, and just to dive into it, because I mean, you offer such great advice, and so I know it's just going to be filled to the brim with it, and it's going to help so many people no matter where they're at.
Thank you, Katy. I'm excited about it. Hope to make a difference in people's lives.
Oh yeah, you already have, and you absolutely will continue to. And so with just this involvement, this true involvement that you have with being an athlete now in triathlons, Ironmans, everything, these incredible races, are you a sponsored athlete in any way, or do you aspire to be, or do you just do these races and actually complete them and compete in them and train for them as that release, or just to continue to embody that true corporate athlete that you put out there?
Truly to embody it and be the true corporate athlete. I'm not looking for sponsors. It's my own wellness track. Some folks have said, hey, will you wear my logo? I'm like, no, I mean, I'm not looking to do that. Because I don't want that added, pressure. I could even more. I want it to be the time where the wellness is. So not looking for sponsors, even though I've had folks ask me, Katy, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It is nice. That's nice, but it's my wellness track.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I love that, staying in that lane, keeping true to that, what you've set out to do in this mission as this athlete.
Right. Yeah. I think that's important because, and it's who I am. I'm tied to multiple things around the world. I don't want to be tied to just one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that point. And so, Rhonda, with just all these incredible journeys that you've been on, both as an athlete, as an executive, and everything, I wonder, with all of the companies that you've actually helped and restructure, reorganize in that path, is there one experience or one story, one person that you've interacted with that really stands out to you, that really solidified why you do what you do and why you continue to go down this path?
I would say the person it was a situation that can solidified it.
Yeah.
Whether the world crisis events, I was at every crisis, Katy, in the world, whether it was 9/11, whether it was the demilitarized zone in Korea, whether it was Lehman Brothers going down the financial crisis. I was at every crisis in the world to help bring something back, risk taker, risk resilient. I would say it was all of them at once. It wasn't just one thing that I didn't have one aha moment.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't just one aha moment.
Right. It was a combination of truly everything that you did, and then now reflecting back, looking at all of these experiences, realizing that they all played such a huge role in leading to you to where you are today.
Right. And it's a revelation, actually, because some folks, and depending upon which generation, I think I was one of the early pioneers to, move jobs after, every couple of years, a handful of years. And now people don't think anything about it. But some folks early on, you would have someone in the same job for 20 to 30 years. Mm-hmm. I'm not that person. I chose early on in life to I like to organize, turnaround specialist, change management, leadership, get folks in, help promote their folks and make a difference in a different way to companies.
Yeah. And recognizing that, and then again, seeing that there was a true path for you to walk down. I mean, early on, seeing that you had this love of organization, and then knowing that you could actually apply it to a bunch of different companies. It didn't just have to exist within one space at one time. It could be something that you could use for forever, and to help so many different organizations and different people too.
Right, exactly. And I keep in touch with everyone, and I think that's an important aspect of life too. People don't, I don't let folks fall by the wayside.
Mm.
So, and I write about that too, because relationships are important.
Yeah.
Relationships we can't lose the human touch. And I was just in Davos talking about that, and I think it's important, human touch and humanity. Don't lose sight of that, because everyone is so into their phones that they need to take that social media aspect, put it to the side, and that's where I put my wellness factor there.
Mm. I think that is critical. I completely agree with that. And I love too what you said about not losing human touch, and specifically with you've must have interacted with so many different people in the line of work that you're in, and just with competing in different athletic events now too. So how do you go about not losing that human touch? Is there a best practice that you abide by?
I would say I always think to myself every day, have I had a fruitful conversation one-on-one? Have I looked up? And I take a pause every day and think that. Because, I mean, walking down the streets of New York, walking down the streets of Korea, wherever you are in the world, when you look around, everyone's in these phones. And being in technology is an interesting dynamic for me to say it, right? Because I'm in technology, that's my specialty. But you also can't lose the human touch, because that's what life's about.
Yeah.
Life's about moments, not things, and it's our relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is interesting too that you have that unique perspective, because the importance of having those human relationships, those human interactions, but having this specialty in technology. And so how did how did technology become your specialty?
I just plopped into it when my mentor was moving me around and he plopped me into network engineering, and I had to learn it and fix and started running cables, and my brain just automatically kicked on early with science, technology, engineering, and math before that was even a term in the world. So I was really lucky that way. So that's how I plopped into it. And I love it because it's changing. Probably, I love change. I love dynamics, innovative, agile, all about change management. And the technology changes all the time, every day. And I'm all about change and seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really cool too, that you kind of happened upon this career there, or this path that you ultimately love now. And it was kind of a hub for you for change management and being at the forefront of that. Cause you're right. Technology changes so rapidly. It changes all of the time. But again, I really love having that appreciation of being in technology so intimately and so engrossed with it, but knowing too that there are times that you really have to take a step back. And so again, that's where your athletic background comes in and takes precedence.
It's so true. And the athletic, I always balance with the folks, in the workplace. When folks say, I've been working 24/7, but are you productive? Do you feel like you have to work this amount? Are you taking care of yourself? You'll do no one justice if you're in the hospital sick with pneumonia.
Yeah. So
it's not about the long hours. It's about the results.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Not long hours, it's results. And I think there's a quote where it's don't confuse activity with productivity. And I think that's
right.
What you just said is so key. Is what you're doing, the things you're checking off on your to-do list, are you actually being productive? Are you accomplishing something today? Or are you just checking them off to check them off? You're trying to just be busy to be busy.
Right, exactly. And that's why this conversation and being with you, Katy, is so important. I hope folks listen to this and learn and know it is being done, and that, I want to advocate for the world and this balance. I think it's so important to the athletics, the wellness, taking time. You can do it. You grind it out. You can do it, but there's an art to it.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And so, I mean, in that vein, Rhonda, do you have an athletic competition or something that you're training for coming up soon?
I do. I plan my whole year in advance of my races. So in
Oh,
December, every December, the last year December after Christmas, I have a routine. My routine is to get out my planner, Katie,
yes.
and I go through the Ironman schedule on the website. I go through when's the New York Marathon, now the Africa Run, doing the South Africa Marathon, and all around the world. And I plan out where I'll be with company work wise, what I need to do, who I what do. I would say this year I have 4 70.3 races that are on the books currently,
Wow.
and uh, 3 marathons and 6 halves.
Wow. That's that's a lot of different races that you have coming up.
Yes, and last year I had about 14 races as well. I did 4 half Ironmans. Where did I St. George, Utah, which is a hard one. Lake Placid, I did.
Oh,
I did
wow.
one in Bahrain. I did one in Maryland. So yes, I like the intensity.
Yeah, and I love it too. I really because it's making it a priority. So it's actually sitting down with your planner, with your calendar. Okay, what are the days I'm going to do this, and not allowing anything else to distract from that. So when you set aside a time to do a race or to truly do something for the betterment of yourself, it's not allowing something else in there. Oh, this is more important on that day. But no, if you're actually dedicated to that well-being, like you need to be, especially in the line of work that you're doing. But like you're saying, it's being an advocate for that for anybody, no matter what walk of life they're in. They need to take time for themselves. They need to do something for the betterment of themselves. So actually sitting down and blocking off time for that is so key. So I love that you do that at the end of every year in preparation for the next year.
I do, and I send it out to my girlfriends, whoever wants to join me, my guy friends, literally, everyone that runs the races in the race community. I give it to my assistant. She blocks out my days, so
Yeah.
I make sure that I have, nothing gets in the way. We schedule work trips around it, so it's a whole discipline that is planned. It's not just, oh, I'm going to wake up and run this race this week. No, it's a lot of thought put into it.
Yeah. And so with this intensity of this schedule that you create for yourself with all looking at the Ironmans and the marathons and the half marathons that you want to run, how long did it take you to develop to be able to run or compete in all of these different events throughout the year? Or did just one year you decide, all right, I'm going to do all of these events and you add one every year? Or is there a process behind it? Or is it just you block off the time for those Ironmans and those halves and full marathons that you want to do?
I block it out. I would say I learned just if it's on the calendar, when I don't like missing goals. I think
Yep.
that's the competitive side of me.
Yeah.
And once you write it down, in my mind, it's a commitment. And it's the time that I guard that time.
Yeah.
I really, it's precious time.
Yeah. And so how do you, having that competitive drive and that mindset, once, and I love it, once it's blocked out, that's precious time. And so that's the time that you allot to it. How would you advise someone to kind of break through that mental barrier? Because it is easy to think that if you block a time off to go on a hike or go on a run or do some kind of athletic activity or whatever it is to give you that reprieve, but then something comes up with work or family or something that you justify at that time might be more imperative. How were you able to bridge that gap and say, no, this is the time that I've dedicated. This is that precious time for myself. How would you advise someone to bridge that gap and really stick true to that?
It's interesting. I had that happen twice the end of last year, October, the Africa race, and then the Bahrain Ironman 70.3. I had a moment at work, important meetings come up, and was asked, oh, can you reschedule? And I'm like, no, I can't. The Africa run was committed to a year in advance, over a year. And I'm not going to let the whole community down, literally. I'm not going to let anyone down that I made a commitment to.
Yeah.
But you struggle with that. Something will always come up, Katie. It's just a facet of life. I think once you come to that realization that unless there's a death in the family, obviously, right? We can't control that. I mean, you have to be real and true to your person and yourself, but there's always going to be, and oftentimes happens, oh, I just can't do that. I mean, regulatory stuff, I get all that, but you have to make the time, and it's going to happen unless you're injured. Seriously, I mean, if you're injured, you can't run it. That's a different story. But just everyone's going to face that. I had it happen, multiple times, and I say no. I just say no, and I'm so glad, because I have a pit in my stomach when I say no. But after I've done the race, I'm like, thank goodness that was a life experience from Africa and Bahrain, and I almost didn't do it.
Wow. And I think too that the fact that you experienced it firsthand, so it's not like you're just coming from a place of, oh, I've always had this discipline, this is just what I do. You face it. It's a daily struggle. It's a yearly struggle, something that comes up with work, or you perceive in that moment, oh man, this feels more important. But no, it's just as important, if not more important at that time, to pour that back into yourself and dedicating to saying you committed to something a year in advance, even if it's not work or in the pursuit of one line of your goals, it's still in pursuit of something extremely important in another one of your goals. And so, like you said, maintaining true to that, and something's always going to come up. You just have to make the time for that time that you've set aside for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's important.
Absolutely. And so Rhonda, truly with this incredible journey that you've led, and you've accomplished so many goals that you've set for yourself, and looking ahead, knowing that you're going to accomplish so many more, especially with this incredible athletic and professional career that you're on. I just have one final question that I ask all of my interviewees. What do you want to be remembered for?
Making a difference and leaving a legacy behind, helping people.
Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. To learn more about our guest, check out the show notes at keepmovingforward.us. While you're there, go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter to stay up to date on all things coming out of the Keep Moving Forward Creators Studio. Always remember, you can beat the odds and go the distance, if only you keep moving forward.